real story behind your favorite 2000s teen movie is about who gets the credit. Today we're talking about Bring It On, and let's unpack creativity, success, and the cost of taking what isn't yours. Before we talk about anything else, we need to address the elephant in the gym: cheerleading's ongoing battle for recognition. In a review for the New York Times, A.O. Scott noted that you wouldn't be entirely wrong if you assumed the plot of a cheerleading movie was a flimsy scaffolding for the shameless exploitation of young women in short skirts. That assumption reveals everything about how cheerleaders have been perceived, both in media and real life. The prevailing view treated them as decorative accessories for male sports teams, not athletes in their own right. Bring It On challenged this head-on. Scott observed that the film, with its unapologetically feminist heart, manages to respect the cheerleaders' hard work and aspirations, even while the camera ogles them. The Torrance's football team loses every game, but their cheer squad has won 5 consecutive national championships. That detail isn't throwaway comedy, it's structural commentary. The film positions competitive cheerleading as the main event, not the sideshow. To avoid the use of stunt doubles, director Peyton Reed required all the actors to participate in a 4-week cheerleading camp. This commitment to authenticity meant audiences saw real physical skill on screen. The routines require a very high level of stamina, physical fitness, athletic ability, and dance technique. Jessica Bendinger's script never winks at the audience to suggest cheerleading is beneath anyone's respect. These women are athletes, and the film treats their pursuit of excellence as seriously as any sports movie would. Torrance Shipman inherits leadership at the worst possible moment. She's just been elected captain when Missy Pantone, the sardonic new transfer, delivers the worst news imaginable. Everything the Toros have built their reputation on is stolen. The routines that won them 5 national titles came from the East Compton Clovers. What makes Torrance fascinating isn't that she's perfect. It's that she isn't. She's naive, she's in over her head, and her first instinct when confronted with injustice is to throw money at it. But unlike so many protagonists in similar films, Torrance actually listens. She doesn't dismiss the accusation or defend her predecessor, she goes to see for herself. And when she learns the truth, she tells her team. The squad's response is telling. When Torrance confesses about the stolen routines, they vote to keep using them anyway. This isn't about cheating, this is about winning. Sounds as tone-deaf as contemporary deflections because it sidesteps the obvious social ill to benefit those already holding more powerful positions. Torrance's arc isn't about being the best cheerleader, it's about becoming the kind of leader who refuses to win on those terms. Here's where Bring It On gets genuinely subversive. The entire plot hinges on something that was barely discussed in mainstream culture at the time: cultural appropriation. As one cultural critic put it, this was before cultural appropriation was a commonly used word. The screenwriter Jessica Bendinger, who began her career as a journalist covering hip-hop, says she was exposed to discussions about cultural appropriation for a long time. She built that awareness into the script, creating a story where the theft isn't accidental or ambiguous. Big Red, the former captain, literally videotaped the Clovers' routines and passed them off as original work. The Toros benefited from Black creativity, while the Clovers, lacking funds to compete at nationals, watched their innovations win trophies for someone else. ISIS's confrontation with Torrance remains one of the most direct callouts in teen movie history. Every time we get some, here y'all come trying to steal it, putting some blonde hair on it and calling it something different. She's not just angry about one routine, she's articulating a pattern, one that extends far beyond cheerleading into music, fashion, dance, and every other arena where Black creativity gets mined without credit or compensation. For many Black viewers, the film provided their first time seeing cultural appropriation addressed not in an academic essay, but through relatable characters in competitive cheer uniforms. The Clovers weren't portrayed as villains or victims. They were portrayed as the originators, rightfully furious that their work kept getting stolen. The check-ripping scene deserves its own analysis because it does something Hollywood almost never does. It denies the white protagonist her redemption arc. After learning the truth, Torrance convinces her father to write a check to fund the Clovers' trip to nationals. She drives to East Compton, presents the money, and waits for gratitude. Instead, ISIS tears the check in half. "I didn't want to rely on anyone other than ourselves, our own community," Gabrielle Union later explained. "Didn't want to be indebted to them, didn't want to owe them." Bendinger has acknowledged that earlier drafts of the script had ISIS accept the money, but the version that made it to screen refuses to let Torrance buy her way out of discomfort. This scene resonates because it captures something real real about how Black communities have historically responded to white guilt. We don't want handouts. We don't want you to give us these things. We want to earn it. The Clovers find their own funding. They show up to nationals on their own terms, and they win, not because Torrance helped them, but because they were always better. Here's the part that still stings. The Clovers were barely in the movie. Union revealed that
the Clovers were only in like a third of the movie. And when they started showing it to test audiences, the Clovers tested through the roof.
the solution Hollywood proposed.
We're gonna shoot fake scenes that will only be in the trailer to create the illusion that it was like a 50-50.
Think about that. Test audiences loved the Black characters so much that the studio felt pressured to pretend they had more screen time than they did, rather than actually giving them that screen time. Union was even called back after filming Wrap to shoot additional scenes because audiences wanted more of the Clovers. Yet those scenes only appeared in promotional material. The character of Isis was initially written like a bad stereotype, according to Union, and she worked with director Peyton Reed to make the character feel authentic. In her memoir, Union wrote an apology to Isis, expressing regret that she chose respectability and to be classy and take the high road, rather than allowing the character to express justified anger. But even with those constraints, Isis emerged as the film's moral center, someone who is right about literally everything while occupying a fraction of the runtime. Bring It On arrived at a particular moment in American culture, post-Clueless, pre-9/11, when teen comedies could still be breezy while gesturing towards something deeper. The film has since been lauded for addressing issues of systemic inequality, cultural appropriation, and intersectional feminism, which are seen as major factors for its continued legacy. Bendinger described the film as offering models of utopian teen feminism, where girls made room for each other on the winner's podium. And crucially, the Clovers don't win because the Toros graciously step aside. They win because when the playing field is finally level, their originality and talent speak for themselves. The film's legacy extends beyond its own sequels. It created a template for taking female athleticism seriously, paving the way for documentaries like Netflix's Cheer and fictional works that center women's competitive drive without diminishing it. It showed that you could address systemic bias in a PG-13 comedy without making it a lecture, and it gave a generation of Black girls characters who refused to be grateful for scraps. So what does Bring It On actually teach us about winning? That stolen victories don't count, that leadership means owning your predecessor's mistakes, that talent without integrity is just performance, and that the people who create the culture should be the ones celebrated for it. The Clovers were always the stars, the film knew it, the test audiences knew it, and 25 years later, every Halloween photo of friends in green and red uniforms proves we still know it too. This is Ladies First, watching women in movies. Here, we empower women by reviewing and discussing films that highlight their stories, struggles, and achievements. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.